Hello everyone, Michael Breddy here from Breddy Musical Instruments. I've got another exciting batch unveiling. This is now day 4 of 5 of the Ocarina batch unveiling marathon leading up to the Boston Early Music Festival exhibition where I will be an official exhibitor at that showcase. I will have a total of 19 ocarinas spanning multiple keys, tons of different woods, across 8 batches, so 3 batches, 3 prior batches, as well as 5 brand new batches. And over the course of this week, if you have been watching in prior videos, you'll have already seen a whole bunch of the ocarinas that will be on display. So I've got this batch and another batch coming out tomorrow for this exhibition. This again is being held at the Collonade Hotel in Boston next week, from next Wednesday to next Saturday. Again, for the Boston Early Music Festival. So a really cool event if you're into classical music, early instruments, early Renaissance and Baroque music like that. Definitely it's the place to be. So for this video, I'm going to be diving into batch number 10 of high-end wooden inline ocarinas from Breddy Musical Instruments. So this batch consists of 2 ocarinas. These are serial numbers 29 and 30. So throughout the course of this video, I'm going to be getting into the development of these ocarinas, a bit of the background of the ocarinas, look at the woods, the tone, and playing sample of each, and then a song demonstration at the end. So jumping right in, we're going to start looking at number 29 here. So if you have seen a prior unveiling a couple of months ago, this was for batch number 4. So that actually consisted of 4 alto A4 ocarinas. Those were made with mulberry body, wenge top, and either bloodwood and maple or padauk and maple laminations. So in the course of laying out the woods and everything for that ocarinas, I actually had enough for 6 ocarinas total for the mulberry. So 4 of those were designated to the alto A4s, and then 2 of those were actually designated for some alto G4s. So these 2 are the G4 variants of that batch, kind of a whole matching batch between the 2. So these actually are, in fact, matching as a set with the A4s from that batch. So jumping right in, we're going to take a look at the base wood. So for the base of this ocarina, I again am using a really beautiful mulberry. So mulberry, like I've mentioned in that unveiling video, mulberry is a very light and soft wood, much softer than other ocarina woods that I've used. It's not the softest wood, but it's kind of softer than typical that I use. The prior batch that I unveiled yesterday with the bloodwood, super heavy, super hard, super dense, the complete opposite, whereas that has a really bright, kind of sharper projection. These ones have a really warm, clean projection, which I will go into later with the sound samples. So for this mulberry, I decided to, well, the way that everything laid out, the A4s had the grain running vertically across. Now for the G4s, I have them running horizontally for a couple of these. So like the prior A4s, 2 of that set with the maple and the bloodwood actually had some of the sapwood. So I carried that theme into these 2 ocarinas as well. So you can see on the bottom of this ocarina, I actually included a sapwood for the ocarina to kind of give it a little bit of interesting character. So you have the nice graham cracker heartwood of the mulberry and the nice cream sapwood at the bottom. You can see the mulberry has really beautiful grain that wraps around on the side. Really beautiful open grain, gorgeous kind of look to it. It's not figured like some of my other woods. I tend to like to use a lot of figured woods. However, I also like to explore unusual woods and unique wood combinations. And when I was browsing through the woods and I saw the mulberry, I immediately noticed the really beautiful, again, graham cracker golden color, and the really prominent open grain. The open grain on this is particularly nice. I really love how it wraps around the curve of the instrument. So it's a really, really nice, kind of a unique look to the wood. Next, for the laminations, I actually followed the same trend with the A4s again. So for this, that has the sapwood, like the two A4s in the prior batch 4, this also has a bloodwood and maple lamination. So the bloodwood has a really nice chatoyance to it, really nice, beautiful movement of the light in the grain, and then that's paired with the kind of creamish white color of the maple. So that wraps all the way around the ocarina. And then again, the really lighter color of the bottom is contrasted with just the really beautiful dark wenge top. And like I've mentioned many times now, I use wenge pretty extensively for laminations because the deep blackish brown kind of goes well with everything. But for this set, I wanted to really showcase the wenge as kind of a primary wood, so people can really enjoy the beauty of the grain of the wenge. And it's a very nice wood. It's a very hard wood, very heavy wood. For a very hard, heavy wood, it's actually quite moisture stable and doesn't move around as much. Bloodwood tends, like for the really thin boards, it'll tend to warp like crazy if you just leave it out. But the wenge is kind of stays kind of nice and flat. So again, really hard, heavy wood, contrasting kind of the lighter color of that. The nice lighter brown in between the dark brown streaking also pairs nicely with the golden brown of the mulberry. And I think the bloodwood and the maple accent kind of has a nice contrasting cut between the light and the dark of the two woods. Finally, we have the classic, again, aromatic cedar mouthpiece. This one has a tiny bit of a knot inclusion on the side, but that's just purely just aesthetic. That's just a kind of a little bit of an. I always like to note kind of interesting quirks in the wood when I make them with either sapwood or inclusions or checks or not in this case. Just kind of factoring that into the overall uniqueness and charm of each instrument. Now, getting into the tone of this instrument, I'm going to just play up and down the scale to give an idea of what it sounds like. So this is number 29. So like all the ocarinas that I make, I try to voice them with really clear tone, and this definitely has that. This has a really nice, clear tone across the range. With the softer mulberry, this does have a warmer tone. So as opposed to the prior batch, the zebrawood and bloodwood, again, which has a really bright, more textured tone, this has a nice cheerful warmth and mellowness to it. It's not super warm and fuzzy like some other really soft wood builds I've done, but it does have a little bit of texture and some extra warmth to it than some really hardwood builds that I've also done. So it's kind of a nice contrast, kind of a mix in terms of the tonal qualities of the instrument. The back pressure. There's a little bit more back pressure on this one, but it's also a very smooth playing. So typically with a higher back pressure ocarinas, you have a little bit more texture, which this does have a little bit more texture, but that's also kind of mellowed out with the softer wood. So if you have a really hard wood with a bright tone, that texture is amplified a little bit. Whereas if you have a softer wood with a warmer tone, that little bit of extra texture is kind of mellowed out. So even though this is a little bit higher breath pressure ocarina than some of my other batches for the G4s, this still plays super smooth and has a little bit more extra warmth to that inline texture. So really nice ocarina, and as opposed to the prior bloodwood ocarinas that I showed yesterday, this is really light. This is a very light ocarina. It's not the lightest, the absolute lightest ocarina in the world, but with the mulberry body, it is a very, very light ocarina. So really, really nice lightweight piece with, again, really warm tone. But even with the warm tone, you still have good projection, especially at the high end. It's not fuzzy warm. It's kind of a rich warmth that projects well and still has real cleanliness and clarity at the top notes. Next, we're going to get into the second ocarina of this build. So this is number 30. So very, very similar, actually practically almost identical to number 29 in almost all aspects. So again, we have the beautiful graham cracker mulberry with that really nice open grain just curving around the edges. So that's really cool. And actually, the grain, you can feel it a little bit under the varnish. So I do sand these. When I sand these all the way from 80 grit up to 3000 grit when I'm doing the final, before I do the final varnishing and finishing. But even then, when I add the varnish, it kind of, for certain woods, it can kind of raise and lower the grain just slightly. So with this, with the really open grain, so you have really tight bands and really open bands, you get a little bit of the texture with this ocarina, as opposed to the bloodwood, which is super heavy and dense. It's super smooth, glass-like. This one actually kind of has a bit of a nice texture, and you can really feel the grain. There's a lot of people that like to do pore filling for open grain woods. I've done that myself in other instrument builds in the past. I don't do that for ocarinas, just because I like to still have that gloss finish on any of the woods, but still kind of have the subtleties in the feel of the different grains. So super glassy smooth, or a little bit more textured, like the mulberry. So it kind of has a nice bit of grip to it, while still having a really nice glossy finish. Really enjoying the tactile feel of that open grain, as well as just the beauty of that open grain as well. So with this, we also have the sapwood on the bottom. So again, exactly the same as the prior ocarina. We have the beautiful iridescent bloodwood, as well as the maple banding running all the way around, cutting between the mulberry and the wenge top. And then you, of course, have the really cool mottled wenge body, which heavily, or the top, which heavily contrasts that really light, mulberry body. Then finally, you have the aromatic cedar mouthpiece. This mouthpiece does have a little bit of curl to it, which is kind of nice. There's a little bit of sapwood here, which is kind of cool. But overall, between these two ocarinas, these ocarinas are one of those batches that are super well matched. So they play nearly identically in terms of breath pressure, the breath curve, the intonation, and everything else. So I'll play the scale up and down so you can hear this. So this is number 30 going up and down the scale. So like number 29, number 30 has really a warm clarity to it. And that's something that I've found that's kind of unique about these medium hardness type woods, whereas the really soft woods have just a really warm fuzziness to them. The really super hard dense woods have a really sharpness to them, and then these kind of in between woods, especially mixed with the softer mulberry and the harder top of the wenge, has kind of a nice balanced dynamic. They are bright but warm. They have good projection, but they're not overly textured or overly. They're not too textured, but they do have good projection, even though they're a little bit softer wood. They still ring out really clearly. They have really clear highs, no airiness at all at the top, nice warm lows. So really nice balance in the dynamics. The breath pressure of this is almost identical to the other one. They're so close that it's hard to say really if there's any subtle difference between them. I think maybe this one might be just a tiny fraction of a hair less breath pressure than the other one, but otherwise they play essentially identically. So really well matched set, and I particularly like this combination. The mulberry is a little bit a different wood to see. It's kind of unique with this contrasting pair, and again with the really warm sweetness and clarity in the tone, I think makes for a really fantastic G4 ocarina. So that kind of wraps up the overview for these ocarinas. So now I will get into the performance section of these videos. So for this video, I decided to go with my personal favorite Irish reel, the Bucks of Oranmore. And that's my absolute favorite reel. I really love that that tune, and I think the brightness, the warm brightness of these ocarinas actually plays nicely into that tune. So please enjoy this rendition of the Bucks of Oranmore. So that wraps up this unveiling video. This is unveiling video number 4 out of the 5-day unveiling marathon. In this video, we covered batch number 10 of wooden inline ocarinas, consisting of numbers 29 and number 30. So this set again consists of mulberry body, bloodwood and maple laminations, a wenge top, and an aromatic cedar mouthpiece. Really nice combination of warm, sweet tones with some nice clarity across the range. Really flute-like in essence in terms of the tone and the qualities. Some nice back pressure to it with nice balanced texture as well. So overall, very fun ocarina, and the matching G4 set to the prior A4 set that was released back with batch 4. So these two ocarinas, like the others shown in the prior videos for this marathon, will be available for sale at the exhibition. It'll be first comes, first serve with priority to the in-person attendees. But if you are interested in one of these ocarinas and you can't attend, just send me a direct message with the serial number that you like, and I will put you on the reserve list for that ocarina. So if that ocarina doesn't sell during the exhibition, you will get priority on a first-come, first-served basis for that reservation list. So if you like these developments and you want to follow along more, you can check out the Brady Musical Instruments Instagram page as well as the Facebook page. There's also going to be more updates here on the YouTube channel to come. I still got one more batch to reveal tomorrow. That'll be also a very fun batch. And if you are interested in ocarinas and you want to check these out in person, and you are in the Boston area or kind of the East Coast area and you want to make the trip over, come stop by and say hi and check out the ocarinas. And if not, if you know people who are interested in ocarinas or just unique flutes in general in the area and want to expand their collections, definitely tell them to pop over. I know there's a lot of other really fantastic fine woodwind and instrument makers in general at that exhibition. So it's going to be really cool to network with those makers and other attendees at the event. So thanks again for watching. Be sure to check out the next videos coming out for this exhibition, and I'll see you then.